2 weeks in advance when you move into a rental property. What does that actually mean? We'd have so many people call us and say, but I thought I was 2 weeks ahead because I paid 2 weeks when I moved in. And you do pay 2 weeks when you move in. But what people tend to do then is they'll wait 2 weeks and then pay their next week's rent. So what that means is that you've used up that 2 weeks. So living in a rental property is like going to a hotel. You pay and then you stay. Then you pay and then you stay. So to stay 2 weeks ahead all the time in a rental property, you would move in and pay your bond. You would pay your 2 weeks rent. And then when you pick up the keys, you pay a week's rent and you start paying again the following week. Okay? That would mean then that you are absolutely 2 weeks ahead in your rent. It becomes so confusing for people, and rent is calculated by the day, which also adds a little bit of confusion. So we might have to do a series on tenancy ledgers so we can explain how it reads and how it runs. But just for the 2 weeks, we'll keep it simple today. For the 2 weeks, what we always recommended is that you pay your bond, which goes straight to the bond authority. The real estate agents don't hold that. The bond authority does. Okay? So the bond goes straight to the bond authority. They hold that. The 2 weeks rent that you pay gets processed in the real estate system and gives you a due date on when your rent is due again. From the start of your lease date, 2 weeks. So what we always said to people was move in, get keys, your next payday in the next week, pay your rent. Pay a week's rent, and then every week after that. And you'll always be just over a week ahead in your rent, depending on where your pay fell. I know it's really confusing because we had so many people go to move out and they're like, but don't I have 2 weeks rent in there? I paid 2 weeks rent when I moved in. No, you've used it. It's really, really confusing for people to understand. I know it was one of the hardest things for me to work out when we started doing rental properties was tenancy ledgers. And agencies use different systems, so there's different ledgers as well. But we can do more on tenancy ledgers. If you sling me through any questions that you have on this, we'll do the 2 weeks rent in advance first when you move in. And I will answer those for you, and then maybe we can move on to actually showing you what a tenancy ledger looks like and explaining how those dates work. Okay, we can do that as well. I do have a lot of people that go, it's common sense. And it's like, yeah, it might be to you if you know, but if you don't know, then it's not. Okay, so have a little grace for people. But that's what the 2 weeks means. So if you're moving in, say this Friday, and you've paid your bond and your 2 weeks rent, I would suggest that you would pay another week's rent when you pick up the keys and then pay every week after that, and you'll always be 2 weeks ahead. And it's good to be because, say, Christmas is coming up and, you can miss a week's rent and it's covered. And use that money for Christmas presents or whatever. So, but that's how it works. It's like a hotel. Remember that. You pay and then you stay. I hope that helps.